what happens to a society when half of its population suffers a high level of restrictions on their rights that they fought for years to gain. Imagine a world or a country with women not being allowed to attend school, get the job that they want, and being locked into their houses for an unknown time. Yes, it is hard to imagine, but this is the story of most women in Afghanistan right now. Today I would like to inform you about the women's rights current situation in Afghanistan. And you might ask, why is it even important? According to UN Women Organization, an article published in 2024 named Women in Afghanistan, Afghanistan is not the only country that women's rights being rolled back, but what's happening in Afghanistan show how decades of progress and gender equality and women's rights can be erased in months by Taliban. Women's rights are the basis of women social and legal equality. However, Taliban doesn't believe in this idea of women deserving the same rights as all other human beings. Today I'll discuss about what's the historical context of women's rights in Afghanistan, the two main barriers that they face, and also I'm going to wrap up this speech by talking about future outlook of women's rights in Afghanistan. Let's begin the first point. Before 1978, women in Afghanistan enjoyed a level of freedom in their life that we can compare to all other countries. But I'll explain how the restrictions increased up and how it got better. According to US News and World's report, in 2023, which is published in 2023, in 1978, the president of Afghanistan got killed by a communist cop, and after this, Mujahideen, an extremist group, took over Afghanistan. They made restrictions for women to be up. And also, this wasn't enough. Taliban took over Afghanistan in 1996, and they made the restrictions to be more hard for women. Women weren't allowed to go outside without a chaperone. Women weren't allowed to go outside without scarves covering their faces and bodies, and they weren't allowed to go to school and colleges. This was the main restrictions that they made for women. And also, according to CBS News, in Afghanistan, women were enjoying more freedom than ever since US ousted Taliban. US ousted Taliban in 2000, and after this, women were enjoying a level of freedom once again. We learned about the different historical context in Afghanistan. Let's hop on to the third point, which is the two main barriers that women face right now. According to NPR News article, Taliban began to enforce education ban, leaving Afghan women with fear and anger. This article published in 2022, which shows that the policy of Taliban this time changed. It's actually changed. Women are only allowed to go to school until 6th grade, and they can't continue to education, which is the first main barrier that women face right now. The second main barrier that I'm going to talk about is the employment barrier that women face in Afghanistan right now. According to InFocus UN Women article, which published in May 2024, 25% of the employment rate for women after Taliban took over the country were 25% lower than sometimes before Taliban take over. And this shows that women in Afghanistan were only allowed to do small home-based businesses and limited professions. In this part, we learned two main barriers that women face right now. And let's hop on to the third point, which is the future outlook of women's rights. So in this part, we can look at this picture and see this was before August, before Taliban took over the country. Women, they could go to hospitals, to education, to work, whatever. But right now, the current situation of women are limited to some parts of society. But we can predict Afghanistan women to stay at home after all these edicts. So to get a better understanding of this matter, according to UN Women feature story, 80 edicts issued by Taliban in 2022, during 2022 to 2024, which 60% of all these edicts are targeting women. One of them, for example, is for women to stay home only because soldiers of Taliban that doesn't know how to respect women outside of their houses. And also this situation leads us to predict Afghanistan as a country with the lowest level of education for women, with the lowest level of employment opportunities, and their involvement of speech outside their houses. We learned about the number of edicts that Taliban issued for women, and also we learned about the predicted future for women's rights in Afghanistan. Examining all these information, women's rights sanctioned by Taliban, and it's hard to be a woman in Afghanistan. To conclude this matter, we learned how Taliban treat women in Afghanistan, and also we learned how they not consider women as equal rights for all other human beings. And also we discussed the historical context of women's rights in Afghanistan. We discussed about two main barriers that women face in Afghanistan, and also we wrapped up the speech with talking about future outlook of women's rights in Afghanistan. At the end, I would like to say that women in Afghanistan need and global support from all over the world. Thank you for listening.